If you're in your 40s or 50s, you're not winding down. You're planning your third chapter. Question is, what does that chapter look like? Are you traveling with friends, starting new ventures, living independently, or are you managing medications, navigating doctor's appointments, and watching your world shrink? This may be the third chapter crossroads. I'm Dinah, integrative health practitioner, and I demystify the perimenopause transition with science-based guidance. I promise that by watching this video, you'll understand how the choices you make today shape the decades ahead. What are midlife women really thinking about when it comes to the third chapter vision? Not retirement, but instead reinvention. We finally have time for postponed dreams. We can travel without limitations. We can start a business or develop a new career. We can follow creative pursuits and passions. We can be present for grandchildren on our terms. It's a time to enjoy independence and create agency. But perhaps there's fear behind the vision. We watch our mothers lose independence. We see vibrant women become fragile. We're distraught with the image of wheelchairs, walkers, and nursing homes. We see how cognitive decline steals personality. We don't want to become a burden instead of the support. Women ask themselves honest questions. Will I be strong enough to do what I want? Will my mind stay sharp? Can I avoid my mother's fate? How many good years do I actually have left? Am I willing to make changes now for my future self? Have you heard of the permission paradox? This may be the first time that you can focus on yourself. Children have launched or are launching, the career is established, the role of parental caregiving is lessening, or maybe it's over. But guilt creeps in. Is it selfish to prioritize my health now? The truth is, it's the smartest investment that you can make. You just need to give yourself permission. You've earned the right to focus on your future, and your health isn't selfish, it's strategic. The third chapter requires a foundation that is built today, and no one else will prioritize your longevity for you. So, what are the health realities mid-women face? Often it's a perfect storm of midlife health challenges. Multiple systems decline simultaneously. Perimenopause and menopause affects everything. The metabolic shift creates cascading effects. That's why this decade is so critical. Let's look at those systems, starting with osteoporosis, the silent thief. Bone density and the loss of bone density accelerates after menopause because estrogen directly affects bone health. This factor alone can mean the difference between fragility and strength in your 70s and 80s. Hip fractures are the leading cause of loss of independence. Falls from weakness can change everything. The time to build bone is now, not when you're already fracturing. Did you know that cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of midlife women? Heart disease risk skyrockets post-menopause because the protective effects of estrogen disappears. Most women fear cancer, but heart disease kills more women. If it doesn't kill, it can deplete energy and vitality from your life. It brings high blood pressure, arterial stiffness, and weakness. We know that prevention is exponentially easier than treatment. The daily impact of perimenopause symptoms can be intense. Brain fog affects cognitive function long term. Sleep disruption perpetuates a health cascade. Moods can be volatile and anxiety is crushing. Energy crashes limit activity choices. Weight gain is disheartening and comes with metabolic changes. These symptoms aren't just annoying, they're warning signs. They're unaddressed symptoms that predict future health problems. Sleep disorders whisper that the foundation is crumbling. Sleep quality usually plummets during perimenopause. We see hot flashes, night sweats, and anxiety that all disrupt rest. And we know that poor sleep accelerates cognitive decline. Sleep deprivation affects every health metric. Insomnia is linked to dementia, heart disease, and obesity. Imagine the compound effect of years of poor sleep. But cognitive decline is often the biggest fear. Memory issues usually start in perimenopause. It's like a brain fog that doesn't lift. We cringe at the terror of losing ourselves before we die. The sad truth is that Alzheimer's disproportionately affects women. And this shows that connection between midlife health and later cognition. And that's why the metabolic health we have now affects the brain health that we have later. And lastly, we have metabolic dysfunction, which is the root of multiple problems. We see insulin resistance develop. We see weight gain despite no changes in diet. We see inflammation markers increase. We see the production of energy decline. These indicators are the foundation for future chronic disease, like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and dementia, which are all rooted here. At the crossroads, are you willing to make shifts now? Consider the brutal truth about your future health. Your quality of health in your third chapter is being determined right now. The choices you make in your 40s and 50s predict your 70s and 80s. You can't reverse decades of decline in months, but you can prevent decline and rebalance the body if you start now. Here's what's required. Strength training is not optional for bone and muscle strength. Protein intake is essential for muscle maintenance. Sleep prioritization is non-negotiable for brain health. Stress management is key because chronic stress destroys health. Gut health support is the foundation for everything. Hormone optimization protects multiple systems. Metabolic health prevents chronic disease. And consistent movement should be daily, varied, and purposeful. Now, many women know this, but they feel resistance. There's always an excuse. I'm too busy now. I'll start when work calms down. I don't have time to cook, exercise, or sleep more. It feels overwhelming to change everything. Maybe I'll be lucky and avoid my mother's fate. It's that gap between knowing and doing. Let's unpack that and explore the willingness question. How badly do you want that independent third chapter? What are you willing to shift today? Is your current lifestyle building the future that you want? Can you prioritize the future you over comfortable but destructive patterns? It's the small shifts that matter most. It's not a complete life overhaul, but strategic changes. Protein at every meal. That's the building blocks for muscle. Resistance training 2 to 3 times a week that builds bone density and strength. Prioritizing 7 to 8 hours of sleep that's needed to create a foundation for brain health. Managing blood sugar, which is needed for metabolic health. Addressing gut health to get inflammation under control. Hormone support if needed. And introduce daily stress reduction practices to soothe the gut-brain axis. The compound effect of small shifts changes over years and creates massive results. It can be the difference between intervention at 45 versus 65. Prevention requires a lot less effort than reversal. Your 75-year-old self will thank your 45-year-old self. Here's what conventional medicine misses. The standard approach to midlife health is to wait until problems develop. Treat symptoms and not root causes. They prescribe medications for high blood pressure, sleep, cholesterol, and osteoporosis. The doctor tells you you're fine until you're diagnosably sick. There's no proactive optimization. Here's why conventional testing falls short. It looks for disease markers, not decline markers. It misses early warning signs. It refers to population averages, and by doing so hides individual dysfunction. There's no assessment of optimal function. And it stands back until there's a diagnosed problem before intervening, and that makes it harder and less effective. What ends up being overlooked is that gut health affects everything. Nutrient deficiencies predict disease. Hormone optimization, looking beyond basic reproductive hormone replacement. Inflammatory markers, the burden of heavy metal toxicity, parasites and infections, food sensitivities, metabolic dysfunction before there's a diagnosis of diabetes. These factors make up the interconnected nature of decline. But there is an alternative. Here's the advantage of functional medicine testing. The difference is that functional medicine testing looks for optimal function, not just the absence of disease. It can identify system imbalances years before they become diagnoses. Testing provides a comprehensive view of the interconnected systems because it looks at the body as a whole, not a series of parts. Personalized interventions are based on your biochemical data, and it adopts prevention as the primary strategy. So let's talk about building your third chapter foundation and the testing that reveals your starting point. We do bone density assessment, cardiovascular markers beyond basic cholesterol. We do a comprehensive hormone panel. Metabolic health markers are identified. Gut health analysis. We do nutrient status. We look for inflammatory markers and a toxicity burden. It offers the complete picture of where you are now. Then we create your longevity blueprint. This is not generic advice. It's rather your specific needs laid out. The targeted interventions are based on test results. We address imbalances before they become diseases. We build strength, not just prevent weakness. And we can optimize function across the bodily systems. We see the timeline that matters. Changes now affect your health decades into the future. Bone density can be built in your 40s and 50s and beyond. The foundation for cardiovascular health can be laid today. Muscle mass can be maintained or built up this decade. Cognitive capability is protected now for later. And the window of opportunity is now. Let's look at what your third chapter could look like. Imagine hiking in the mountains, not shuffling the halls. Traveling independently, not depending on others. Starting new ventures, not managing decline. Playing with grandkids, not watching from chairs. Imagine that you have a sharp mind, strong body, and independent life. You can have the vitality and agency you've always wanted. What's the investment required? Well, there's time to prioritize health habits every day. There's energy, building new patterns. It takes resources for testing and targeted interventions. There's commitment to build consistency over the years. There's a willingness to choose a future self over present status quo. But the ROI is amazing. Decades of improved quality of life. To recap, the quality of life in your third chapter is being determined right now. The truth is that small shifts today create massive differences in decades ahead. This may be the first time you can actually shift the lens to yourself. So give yourself permission to have better health than your mother. You've worked too hard to let preventable decline steal your independence. What does your third chapter look like? If you envision traveling, sharing new adventures, staying independent, and living fully, not managing medications and watching your world shrink, then now is the time to build that foundation. Schedule a discovery call and let's use comprehensive functional medicine testing to assess where you are and create your personal longevity health plan. We'll identify the imbalances threatening your future, like bone health, cardiovascular risk, metabolic dysfunction, hormone imbalances, and gut health, and address them before they become limitations. You're not winding down, you're planning your most purposeful chapter yet. Give yourself permission to invest in the decades ahead. The booking link for the discovery call is in the show notes below. Your 75-year-old self is counting on your 45-year-old self, so don't let her down. If this video resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more content about real root causes of midlife health issues.